Section 2.6, we have 2 sections left of this chapter.
Yum.
Okay. Reviewing of factoring. Okay, remember we're looking for factors of 8 that add up to 6. So what are factors of 8?
1 and 8.
1 and 8.
4.
And 2 and 4. Which one of those pairs add up to 6?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. So remember, all we do is write x plus 2 and x plus 4. Now, what if I added the equals 0 to the end? How do we solve this?
Distribute.
We do not distribute. If we distributed, that would take us back to this.
Set them equal to each other separately.
Right, set it equal to 0 separately. So I have x plus 2 equals 0, and I have x plus 4 equals 0. So now I just solve both of those separately. So how do I solve that left side? Subtract 2. So I have x equals negative 2. And then how do I solve the right side? Subtract 4. So I have x equals negative 4. Okay. How many answers should you have for all of these? 2. Okay, looking at example 2. Same thing. We want factors of 7 that add up to 9. What are factors of 7?
1 and 7.
1 and 7. What else?
None.
That's it. Does 1 and 7 add up to 9?
No.
Wah, wah, wah. What did you put for your answer?
No solution.
It is not a no solution. Okay? This is what we're going to learn today. If it does not work out perfectly using the normal factoring, we are going to go to the quadratic formula.
Oh no.
Okay? And that is that friend up there. Okay?
What?
Now, do not let it scare you. Okay? Do not let it scare you. Let's do a practice problem with this one. So, x equals negative b plus or minus, I want you to write this down, square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. What do you notice about that equation?
What's the line under the plus 4?
What's that?
What's the line under the plus sign for?
Positive, negative. Plus or minus.
So there's going to be 2 answers then?
Correct. Because remember, we always want 2 answers. So that's what the plus or minus is for.
Like divided or square root?
It's a square root. Okay? What do you notice about this equation?
It's impossible.
It's long.
It's long. What looks impossible about it to you?
I'm just going
The
to
entire thing.
There's a lot of letters in it, right?
Yeah.
But do we know what A, B, and C equal?
Yes.
Yes. Yep, A, B, and C. All we're doing is we're just plugging in those values, okay? It is very important to write out the whole thing so you don't get lost. Okay, so everyone follow along. What is my B value? 9, so negative 9 plus or minus the square root. My B value again is 9, so I have 9 squared. Minus 4, what's A?
X squared.
What's the number in front of?
1.
Yep. Times 1, what's C?
8. Or not 8, 7.
7. Divided by 2 times A is 1. Okay. Now, that's a big step right there. All we did was we just plugged in the values that we know. Okay. To solve this next, we want to focus on the square root. We want to simplify that square root. Say, right now, I'm going to leave everything else as is. X equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root. Well, what's 9 squared?
81.
9 times 9 is 81. Minus, what do we do with those 3 numbers, 4, 1, and 7?
Multiply.
Multiply. 4 times 1 times 7,
Negative 21.
28. And then divided by, well, what's 2 times 1?
2.
2. Is that square root fully simplified?
No.
Nope, so we keep going. Negative 9 plus or minus the square root. What's 81 minus 28? 53. And then we have divided by 2. Is the square root simplified?
No. It is?
It is. Now we ask, can I take the square root of 53?
No.
I cannot. It is not a perfect square. When that happens, I just want you to count that as your answer. Okay, that's the answer. Do we still have 2 answers?
Yes.
Because that plus or minus. Okay, I want to talk about something real quick. What if that square root did end up perfect? Okay, if I had x equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to say 36. Okay, can I go farther with this?
Yeah,
Right, square root of 36 is 6. 6 divided by 2. Can I go farther?
Yes.
Right. This turns into, we're going to focus on this plus or minus. This turns into two options. Okay, this turns into x equals negative 9 plus 6 divided by 2. What's the bottom option? Negative 9 minus 6 divided by 2. See what I did there? This plus or minus right here is turning into two different options. So now we just solve both of them. Okay, so the top one, negative 9 plus 6 is
3.
negative 3 divided by 2. Can I simplify that? No. You can write that as a decimal or a fraction. I do not care. Okay. What's negative 9 minus 6? Negative 15 divided by 2. Can I simplify that?
No.
Nope. You can write it as a decimal or you can leave it as a fraction. So now you see how we have two answers here? Okay, so if that square root does turn out to be perfect, we can go into two options. Okay, one more I want to show you is what if we had this?
You can't.
Why do you say I can't?
Negative in the square root.
There's a negative in the square root. Okay, we learned last week that you cannot have a negative inside of a square root. Okay, I apologize. I'm going to change this to a negative 36. What is the square root of negative 36?
6.
6.
Squared. 6.
6i. Okay. However, if you have a negative inside of a square root for the quadratic formula, no solutions. Automatic, no solution if you get a negative number inside of the square root. Automatic. Okay, so we just looked at 3 different options here. Okay, but it's all coming from the quadratic formula. Okay, go ahead and flip your notes. So looking at example 1a, we have 2x squared plus 6x plus 3 equals 0. What does the directions tell us? Using the quadratic formula. I want you to write down the quadratic formula so that you can just follow it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? So, again, we know a, b, and c. We just need to plug those values in. What is my b value? 6. So negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4. What's a?
2x.
Just the number, remember.
2.
And then what's c?
3.
3. All over 2, and then a is 2. What do I want to do first? What do I want to focus on?
The 4 and the 2 and the 3.
Right, which part of this do I want to solve?
The square.
Square root first, yep. Plus or minus, what's 6 squared? 36. What do I do with 4, 2, and 3?
You combine them, you multiply them.
Multiply. 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is
24.
24. And then on the bottom, 2 times 2?
4.
4. Okay, is the square root fully simplified?
No.
Nope. What is 36 minus 24?
12.
12 divided by 4. Is 12, square root of 12, a perfect square?
No.
Can I take the square root of 12?
No.
No. So again, that is my answer. Okay? Let's look at example 2b. Sorry, example 1b. We have 3x squared minus 2x plus 7 equals 0. Directions say solve with the quadratic formula. Write the formula down. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, plugging in values. What do I plug in for my negative b?
2.
My b is negative 2, so the negative of that is 2. Plus or minus the square root. My b value is negative 2 squared. Minus 4, what's a?
3.
3, what's c?
7.
7. Divided by 2, a is 3. What do I want to solve for first? Square root. Simplify that square root. So I have 2 plus or minus the square root. What's negative 2 squared?
4.
4 minus 4 times 3 is
12.
12 times 7 is
I did one of them.
84. Divided by 2 times 3? 6. Keep going with the square root. What's 4 minus 84? Positive or negative?
Oh, negative.
Negative 80 divided by 6. What happens?
That's it. Right?
Is this my answer?
Yes. No?
Why not?
Technically it is an
I
answer,
think it is.
but you did hit that down.
What's wrong with that square root?
There's a negative.
There's a negative. Automatic. No solution. Okay, remember, if we got a negative square root, we can't do that, so it is a automatic no solution. All right, let's do number 2. We have 6x squared plus x minus 15 equals 0. We're going to use the quadratic formula. Again, write the quadratic formula down. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Big step in this is just plugging in the values. Okay, what is my b value? What's the number in front of the x? 1. So b value is 1. So we have negative 1 plus or minus the square root. We said b was 1. So 1 squared minus 4. What's a?
6.
6. What's c?
Negative 15.
Negative 15 divided by 2 times 6. What do I do from here? Square root. Negative 1 plus or minus, what's 1 squared? 1. Biggest thing you need to watch out for here. Be careful of the positive and negatives. Okay? I have 2 negatives, so that's going to turn into a positive, and I believe this gets us 360.
It does.
And then divided by 2 times 6?
12.
12. So we have x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of
361.
361 divided by 12. Check in your calculators. Square root of 361, is it even? So we have negative 1 plus or minus 19 divided by 12. Well, it came out even, so what do I need to do?
Nothing. No, you have to put it.
Right, I can solve for my 2 separate equations, yeah? So what's my first option here? X equals negative 1 plus 19 divided by 12. My second option is negative 1 minus 19 divided by 12. I just split up the positive and negative. So now we just solve both of them separately. Negative 1 plus 19.
18.
18 divided by 12.
That's it. But you can simplify.
Simplify. What's the number that goes into 18 and 12?
3,
Higher.
6.
Yep. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 12 divided by 6 is 2. If you didn't want to work with fractions, you can just type in 18 divided by 12 in your calculator and give me 1.5. Okay. What's negative 1 minus 19? Negative 20 divided by 12. What's the number that goes into both? 4. Negative 20 divided by 4?
5.
Negative 5. 12 divided by 4? 3. You could have also typed in negative 20 divided by 12 to give me a decimal. Okay. One thing we have to talk about, and that's the discriminant. Okay, so on the margins of example 3, I want you to write these notes down. Okay, the discriminant value, write this down, the discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. Where does that come from our formula?
Oh, the top, in the square root.
The square root, right? The square root is what tells us how many solutions we're going to have. Okay? So, there are 3 options. We can have 2 solutions. And for example, that's if I had a positive number in the square root. So 2 solutions if I had a positive number. Okay. 1 solution if we happen to get 0 in the square root. Because if we get 0 in the square root, that just goes away, right? So the square root is no longer. So we just have 1 solution. And then no solutions. How do we get no solution?
Negative.
If we have a negative in there. For example, negative 36. So a negative number. Those are the 3 options. And we can figure that out by just evaluating what the discriminant value is. Okay? So let's look at number 3. Example 3, A and B. This first one I have 16x squared plus 8x plus 1 equals 0. In order to figure out how many real solutions there are, do I need to do the whole quadratic formula?
No,
No. What do I need to do?
just that part of the equation.
The discriminant, right? So we're just going to follow b squared minus 4ac. This is all we need to figure out. What is my b value?
8,
8 squared minus 4. What's a?
16,
16. What's c?
1,
1. So now we just evaluate. What's 8 squared?
64,
64. What's 4 times 16?
64,
Okay. Well, what's 64 minus 64?
0,
0. So how many solutions do I have?
0, 1.
1 solution. Yep. Remember, if we get 0, that means I only have 1 solution.
Is that the answer? Just 1 solution?
1 solution is the answer. Yep.
Wait,
Remember, this is our discriminant value. What's your question?
So like, will we have to answer questions like this, or is it just gonna help us get the other answer?
No, we will answer questions like
I was
this.
about to say, we can look at it, you could just solve and figure it out.
Yep. No, you will be asked how many solutions there are, and we could go through the whole quadratic formula to do it, but we only care about that specific radical part.
So if it asks for it, then that's the only part that you do.
Correct.
But if it does ask for you to do the whole quadratic formula.
Correct. So here's example 3b, 2x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Again, it wants us to find the real number solution, so what do we have to do?
Do the B thing.
Yep, b squared minus 4ac, the discriminant. Okay, what is my b value?
Negative 5.
Negative 5 squared minus 4a is
2,
2, c is
6,
6. What's negative 5 squared?
25. Why did you put that in parentheses?
The negative 5? Because of the negative.
Okay.
And then 4 times 2 is 8 times 6 is
48,
48. So 25 minus 48
no solution.
is negative 23.
Yeah.
And Aiden, why'd you say no solution?
It's negative.
Because it's negative. Good.
8.
Good.